Hi there. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Mike and Peter. You know us by now, but if you don't, Mike is a lawyer. I'm a psychologist, and we talk about mental health issues and topics in the legal profession. And one of the things that has been doing the rounds and gone viral in social media recently was a slide from a presentation from a big law firm in the States called Paul Hastings. Am I right?
That's right.
Okay. Don't want to get the name wrong. And it was a presentation done by a senior associate to, we assume, a new intake perhaps of junior associates. And it's been criticized for its tone and its content. And it was called and I'm reading off the slide, non-negotiable expectations. And 10 points of saying, you, dear junior, have no rights, have no life. You just do as we tell you because the client wants it. Now, is that the way of law practice?
Yeah, that's a pretty good summary. Everyone likes a good top 10 list, going all the way back to David Letterman and probably before him. This top 10 list definitely got a lot of people's attention these past few weeks. And it's interesting, I think, because I think a lot of people says, hey, this says a lot about what it means to practice in the law firm world, particularly in big law, both the substance of it and also the tone. And I think there have been a lot of really interesting conversations about it. And you can go find it. It's pretty available. I actually posted my own top 10 kind of rebuttal list to it because I think some of the substance is not wrong. The tone is all wrong, and I would say that the majority of the substance gets it so wrong that it's damaging to even the parts that it gets right. It kind of overshadows that, and I think a couple of the takeaways were I think very to me inconsistent with doing good work, but also very familiar as part of what we think of when we think of big law culture.
But that's the thing, Mike. It talks about you must be on 24/7. Client is always right, even when the client is not. You just have to respond quickly and don't ask questions. Why would you ask questions when you can Google it? Don't come and ask me who knows more than you do. Go talk to your classmates. I mean,
Yeah.
it's very derogative in its tone. But what it doesn't understand is if you have worn out lawyers, they don't do good work. And I suppose a law firm survives on its lawyers doing good work. So how are those things compatible?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I think that's those couple of ones that you highlighted, your online 24/7, no exceptions, no excuses. That's certainly not anything I would want anyone for me to commit to, because I know I'm not going to get the best version of themselves. First of all, if you're exhausted and always on, you're probably not doing your best thinking. And also, you're also probably going to burn out and leave very quickly. So I think that's one of the ones I had in mind as being really damaging. And the other one is don't ask questions, right? I think a lot of this comes from like, hey, don't take the time to care about your work and look things up. They can be looked up, but I want people to ask questions. That's how they learn. And when we're billing people, hundreds and sometimes thousands of dollars an hour for work, I'd certainly rather someone come to me if they're confused or have a question than go spend time Googling it or looking it up in some firm database. That's just, but a lot of this, I think a lot of what comes through here is it's like a very strictly hierarchical, the junior associates serve the senior associates kind of model. Don't think, serve. And I think that just doesn't create good creative thinkers, doesn't create good lawyers. It kind of creates, cogs, right, when you think about it. And maybe that's some of what that's kind of what comes through as the model, right? You're just kind of these interchangeable cogs and just do the work heads down and don't think too much about it. I think that's unfortunate.
And I think you've just described what my clients tell me in their own words, because they are part of the culture behind that one slide. They're not allowed to ask questions. They're supposed to be a cog in a big wheel, but they were trained to think. They work in a business that relies on their brain, their thinking powers, and they're not allowed to. They just have to follow suit. And it's all on 24/7. And then
Yeah.
they have life at home, which is also on 24/7, actually. And there's a lot of conflict sitting on the fence thinking, am I a lawyer? Am I a family person? Which do I want to neglect because I can't do both? So there's a lot of personal turmoil coming in because of the demands at work. And then how do you prioritize? Do you want a career so that you can live a financially comfortable life and do what you want to do, if that's your aim in life? Or do you want to enjoy your kids, seeing them grow up, maybe at working in a less prestigious part of the legal profession? There's a lot of personal conflict that I deal with every day because of those questions, because of that attitude behind the scenes.
Yeah, and I see, when you put this side by side with recent reports, we've been talking about these issues of mental health and well-being, and I've been very public about talking about this for the past couple of years. And I think the pandemic has people talking about these issues more. But there was a study that came out just the other day in New Jersey State Bar Association report that still shows that the numbers are still really terrible. Like it was very, very disappointing and frustrating to see that. But it's really not a surprise. Like if the culture is still rooted in this way, right? Even if we have a younger generations, that's better about thinking and talking about these issues, we're having these conversations. If you come into a law firm and someone reads you this top 10 this is your credo now, I think it really can suck the life out of you. And I think it really, and to me, I did a response to this because I think it's not only damaging to people, on a mental health level, but I just don't think it aligns with doing good work. I just don't. Right? I mean, this is a people business. All businesses are people businesses. Mm-hmm. So we should be taking care of our people and treating them like adults and mentoring them and training them, right? Not treating them like little cogs and servants, right? And no one should be available or online 24/7. If we're going to be taking care of our brains, that means taking breaks and having boundaries and getting offline. And I want my associates to be doing that. And of course, we all want people who work hard and who are smart. But working smart in 2023 especially means working collaboratively, right? I don't want someone to be spinning their wheels when they can come to a teammate or a colleague and say, hey, have you seen this situation before? Can you help me? So I think so much of this, and I think it caught so many people's attention because, a lot of people talk about big firm culture, but then to have a slide that on one page sort of puts it all out there, both in tone and substance, it's hard to say, oh, no, that's not really how it is, when actually people are putting it out there like this is the culture to stick to. And I think it's interesting, Paul Hastings distanced themselves from it. It was getting a lot of criticism in some circles, and they said, oh, it's just an associate. This is not the partners saying that this is not the culture of the firm. But that person got these ideas from somewhere, right? He or she is a product of that culture. So yeah, the whole thing is just very kind of distressing. And even maybe most distressing is that there were a bunch of conversations I saw where people didn't really have a problem with it. And they said, this is great. This is honest. It's good to be honest with people. And a lot of people didn't really agree with me that this is inconsistent with good work. There were some conversations, I know you said you saw some too, where people weren't troubled by this. And that might be the most troubling thing to me of all.
I think so, because logic, at least for you and I, have it that if you treat people well, if people are safe and sound, they're productive, they like what they do, they can think for themselves. They actually won't ask as many questions because they can figure out for themselves where to go in good time, and then come up with a more intelligent question saying, I have a question about this because I've looked in these and those sources, and it doesn't add up to me. What would your perspective be? You can ask questions intelligently, or you can ask them stupidly, because you simply haven't got the wherewithal or the time to do something that's more intelligent. And I know that lawyers that I speak with hate this problem, because I know I'm better than this, but I haven't got time to prove that. Now, I saw a recent study made in the UK where an increasing amount of lawyers said, yeah, they really feel well supported. But at the same time, the survey also said that 30% of them are working longer hours than they ever did. So how does well supported and working even longer hours than they normally did, how does that add up? To me, it doesn't. There's something missing there. But of course, you don't know what the questions were asked and who answered them. And that surveys are great. They give us an indication, but they never tell completely what the real picture is. Mm-hmm. Will we ever get away from this, Mike? This harsh, just get on with it culture in law?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of conversations and a lot of showing. A lot of people assume that, if I hire a prestigious law firm and I pay them a lot of money, I did my best. And if we lose, then, well, I did my best. And sometimes people don't look any deeper than that. And sometimes people think that being aggressive and being transactional and always equates to being a good lawyer, when the reality is that it often doesn't. And so, I think I'm seeing pockets develop, especially a generation down, that's taking a much harder look at it. And even though there were some pockets of conversations that said, yeah, this is just great, honest, it's not for everyone. I think the majority of the reaction to this, was negative. And I think that does say something. And I think, the reaction of Paul Hastings wasn't, yep, that's our culture, we're badasses, right? It was to say, oh, no, that's not what, so, I mean, that's indicative, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think, I'm a hopeful kind of guy. So I mean, I think those are indications that there is a cultural shift happening. But when things are so institutionally rooted, it's change is slow. And I think this was a very in everyone's face kind of example of like, hey, this is that culture we're talking about on one slide. Look at it.
Yeah, it was perfectly condensed into one slide. Couldn't have done it better myself.
I think you could.
But I'm glad I didn't. So it's again, it's one of those, Mike, where you and I do not have the absolute solution and the silver bullet, because law firms are different. They deal with different types of part of the law, and they need to be available in different ways. But I think in general, we can be kind to each other and to ourselves without any cost to anybody, and we'll get an awful lot more business out of it, and be a far more human face to what is actually, as you said before, law is about people. So let's hear what other people think. We've started this conversation or carried it on from where it were already. So let's see what people think. Let us know in the comments, wherever you like to put them. And we'll be back later with another topic on mental health in the legal profession. Take care. Bye now.